audio only review from me because I'm still ill from last week's injection, so if I sound a little less animated than usual, it's because I'm trying to hold back a coughing fit with almost every word that I say. For the meantime, however, let me just say a big thank you to everybody who watched and liked last week's video. It's always wonderful to see every view and every like that I get, especially these days, seeing as how scary YouTube is being for small content creators much like myself. So if you would be so kind, give us a like, give us a subscribe if you really want to. It would do me a power of good and help me feel a little bit better. These days, like I say, it's getting scary for small content creators, so you got to support the little guy where you can do. If not me, then the next little content creator that you see. Give them a like, give them the subscription, click their bell and do all that kind of stuff for them because it will do them a power of good. Now with all that stuff out of the way, on to the review itself. And so we're now starting to get into the next arc. It's still very early days, but surprise surprise, the Metal Liberation Army are the bad guys. Roar. Now to be fair, this is something that we've had set up for us for quite some time now. We got the first hints of it towards the end of last year's season with the whole mini arc with Endeavour. It's just kind of been building up and bubbling up in the background, and now we're starting to see it come to the fore. As to where all this will end up going in the end, I cannot say right now as I've not read the manga, and for those who have, please don't spoil it in the comment section for those of us who haven't actually had any interaction with that thus yet. And as such, I've got to talk mostly as far as the stuff that's being set up and as well as the stuff with the whole hero placement stuff that we're getting thus far. This week we see Shoto, Bakugo and Midoriya doing their work placement stuff with Endeavour, which is good in the very least because it ends up meaning that we're going to avoid just having scenes with Shoto and Endeavour trying to get back together and trying to deal with their complicated relationship. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy those scenes, but it has felt as though we had them a little bit too often, and it feels like it's starting to get a bit too samey. Having some extra characters in the dynamic does end up changing how things go, and hopefully will end up meaning there's going to be a little bit more variety there. As I say, as I always do, variety is the spice of life. The big fight that he had with the evil mystic guy was neat. Not the best fight that we've seen in this season thus far, but you know what, I'm not going to turn down a good fight sequence within this show. It was a neat little side event, something to add a little more spice, a little more variety into the episode itself, because otherwise this would be a lot of people standing in the rooms talking and looking enigmatic and mysterious without us actually having something with a little bit more meat to the bone. This week we get that with a little bit of fight, and I'll be interested to see how all this stuff develops as we go forward. Like I say, there's not much for me to discuss because most of this episode is set up for what's coming in the following arc. On the face of it, the Metal Liberation Army stuff looks like it'll be interesting. It feels like it's going to be more of an ideological battle rather than your just standard hero versus villain stuff. Even if this will all ultimately end up ending with Midoriya thumping their leader very, very hard until they fall over. Exactly how this will manifest, I'm not entirely sure. As we're well aware, this is a program that is not afraid of tackling some deeper social commentary stuff, but exactly how that will manifest and the angle that it'll have, again, I'm not entirely sure. I could speculate on it, but I'm not really of a mind to do that right now, particularly bearing in mind so it feels as though I could pass out at any given moment. If there's one thing that I do know for certain, it is the fact that that new company that was teased in last week's episode in a little news report is behind all of this. That weird OCP Supercorp thing that's getting into the hero game. They're going to be behind it all, but I do feel it's possibly a little bit reckless of them to possibly tie their names to the Metal Liberation Army stuff, particularly bearing in mind that the guidebook they have has that hidden message within it. Something that could easily be deciphered by just about anybody once they figure out how to work it. Like, I know that it's supposed to be a secret message for only their most hardcore and most zealous fans, but still, it's already been known within this world up until this point that the Metal Liberation Army worshippers and followers are getting a little bit ornery and starting to get up to all kinds of mischief, even if at the moment it's just kind of going around flashing your private parts here and there, as we saw towards the end of last week's season. So sooner or later people are going to investigate this book and see exactly what's in it. And it may not become apparent at first, but sooner or later you're going to get someone that's going to know what they're doing as far as hidden messages are concerned, and then they're going to be outed, and then, you know, they're going to get shut down. Maybe I'm just overthinking stuff a little bit here. Maybe I watched too many episodes of Batman in the past, but this feels like something that could easily fall in on themselves just by someone having the book that probably shouldn't do and just kind of accidentally falling upon it. But you know what? Que sera, sera, we'll see. There's not much for me to really discuss about this episode, partly again because I'm ill and partly because, once again, this is mostly a setup episode. A lot of the bigger stuff, who the new villains are exactly, what their character names are, what they do and what their ultimate goals are, and as well as what ultimately the Meta Liberation Army want, at this point doesn't feel properly concretely said. We just get a slogan as to what they're going for, and it just feels so ultimately innocuous. It's kind of hard to get what they're for. Oh, they're for freedom, and for people with quirks to have spare time? I really don't understand what that's supposed to mean. Look, I'm sure it'll become a lot more clear next week when this episode and this whole arc is developed a little bit more, and I actually don't feel as though I'm going to go into a coughing fit at any given moment. But what about you, dear listener? What do you think about this week's episode of My Hero Academia? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comment section down below and get back to you shortly, either directly in the comments themselves or towards the next week's video. And what do you think about the whole Meta Liberation Army stuff? Are you excited for this new arc to come along? What do you think their big game is? What do you think things are going to do with the doings and stuff? We'll soon find out. Thank you all for watching. Thank you so very much, and see you next time. Goodbye!
Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, favourite, subscribe, click the bell and do all the YouTubey stuff that YouTube wants you to do. Go on, it'll do me a power of good. Until next time, my friends, goodbye!